I'm listening to this trash. As I've said it many times, I'm just so thankful for the testimonials. Last night they did this nasty ways of forcing me to think about children in sexual way, and that's the kind of low life that these people are. So nasty. And it's just they call it being their it's their world, their reality. It's a reality where it's so disturbing, and they're so it's pedophilia centric, and they call that being mean. It's funny how they even try to sound meaningful, like try to sound like like fierce. It's so nasty. Um, and they use this child like sounding trash, and these other people who, what kind of self-respecting man and woman can do that? I'm just thank God. That's all I can say. Just thank God I never had to. It's so cowardly. It's so disturbing. It's so pedophilia centric. These people will die by having have to live life like this in such a coward pedophilia centric way. I'm so glad that I didn't have to live that life. That's all I can say. Last night, it's like, oh, we caught you, so caught, right? That is their job. That is the saddest part, and they try to agitate you because they know that at this point I've been validated that they do this forcing of thoughts of this disturbingness. I've made hundreds of videos about this. A grown woman who's quote unquote respect herself is supposed to be making me subscribe to this. This low life who is contracted by these pedophiles is supposed to make me accept these things. What kind of respect? What kind of self-respect? And she's like, I'm so mean. It's like, no, you're so low life. It's such a bottom feeder. I'm glad that you live this life. I'm truly happy for you to be living a bottom feeder life like this. And you're not agitating anybody. You're just a pathetic human being who will not want to be seen. I've seen some people coming in the hallways try to be like, oh, fierce. I looked at them, just shook my head, almost fell down. Because this fierceness is just bottom feeders. They tell me what gonna do to my neck. It's like I'd rather be paralyzed, dying, starving to death, than having to live in your apartment doing what you do, or your house or whatever. It's so disturbingly sad. It is so pathetic. I cannot imagine them living a good life. I can't. No matter where they live. Me, what I've said, I'm sure some of them have done it to others. They've been told these things before. They know it's coming for them. Yesterday, they were making me think in these ways where they start making me think of, I was with somebody, and they're like, oh, she's gonna give you something, like STD or some sort. And I remember when I was going to the airport, people were saying these things, right? And they just make me imagine, because I remember when I was at the airport, there was this mother and her child, a little kid, like 7-year-old kid or so. And they were trying to make me think, oh, all along this woman knew that she was like you, the real you, and thinking about how you might be, you might get an STD from this person. And that was really what she was thinking about. She wasn't thinking about how they, at that moment, what they were trying to do. They were trying to make me look at this kid so they can, and it's not even just look at her, try to look at this kid's butt or something. That's a 6-year-old. They have the ability, you're going to see that, to try to force you to look at things, right? Everything I said have been done before, have been done to others. And I remember them tries, like, I'm not going to go for it. Like, I know, like they wanted me to look at this kid. It's like a 6-7-year-old kid. What disturbingness. But then they make me think of that, and then they start giving me stimulations about this kid, like giving me stimulation toward this kid. It's like, this so nasty, these pedos. You're gonna hear there that they force you to have these pedophilia ways of thinking. It's like, now we caught you. This trash are here. We caught you. Now they are. Disgusting pedos. And they try their best to try to act and create silent moments to get you to, like, oh my gosh, they call me. No, trash, you've been doing what you've been doing since August 19, 2019, which is manipulating my brain in these disturbing ways, forcing stimulations and manipulations of my thoughts. Like you've heard every day for a long time, me saying the same thing. And this trash, they call me. These bottom feeders, these mean people, these ones. Trash. Death comes to all of us. And I keep hearing that, oh, keep dying. It's like, keep living this life. This is life. This is life. Okay. Keep living. As long as you live like this. Keep living like this for the rest of it. Watch how it comes back. It's magical. Target individuals. When they force you to experience these disturbing things, oh my gosh, be quick to make a, just be sure, like, let me see, let me tell what just happened. Death, do you think these people are not going to die? Look how they had to live. Look at the life they chose. You should hear those perps talking to me. You know this perp. These people even look like this is probably the creme de la creme. I'm talking about these people at least. This should look more like, if you saw who is really like those perps that talk to me 24/7, that calm me with these ways of manipulating my brain and try to force stimulation and aim it toward children. You wouldn't believe it. It's like, what? It's like, yes, this is perfect, ideal bottom feeders. These entities will contract. What losers like that? Purely, that's how I can say. People who love to feel special, feel this godly feelings of empowerment when they're just nothing but losers. Honestly, this is nothing. Meaning that you see them, you can see the trashiness in them, right? You should see the people who refuse to be seen. The savages. Oh, God. When I'm telling you, they are just complete weak lowlifes. Cowardness. You won't believe it. You won't believe it. Trash bottom feeders who happen to work for entities filled with pedophiles and are here being at war. To all my target individuals, stay strong. I will always bring up the things they do to me. When they force me to have this thought in my bed, it's like, oh, you call me. Of course, I know this is what you guys do. What video is this? What number? 900 or something? What? How many of those talk about how they manipulate my thoughts in this way and stimulation? This is the exact same video I made 2 days ago. So these bottom feeders, who are always now use this and then listen to this, that sounds familiar? Yes, they're going to continuously do that. For me, I'm never going to let them live the fantasy. These low-life pedophiles that force people to think in these ways. And it's like, no, we clap. Look, can you imagine living your life doing that? How humiliating. In my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to do this. It's like, and I hear some of them don't like to talk about it right now because it's like, oh, he's going to say the same thing. You just like, it's so humiliating to having to live this life. To me, what they're supposed to do is like try to gaslight me, But what a humiliating life when all I do is like, oh, please go ahead. Listen, these bottom feeders are trying to make me subscribe to these things they've been doing to me since August 19, 2019. Sounds familiar? Oh, guess what? This is what they do to children. Oh, yeah, but guess what? Over there you can hear the problem of pedophilia. Oh, yeah, and they want you, by the way, they play you a little bit, they'll listen to that. This is the life of these bottom feeders. I'm so glad I didn't have to live their life.
Is highly synchronized in real time. They can see everything in my environment before I can, and if something is hidden out of my sight, they can tell me where it is, if they want me to see it. Likewise, they can also make me not see something that is right in front of my face.
They're trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophiles. Like, it's disgusting. They take this whole thing into account so much and make it so dramatic. It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophiles. Like, this disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know. I don't care.
I can be free from this torture. Every day has been a miracle of survival. I also experience what is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the I am currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry.
What I said, playing with my dog. So that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use of people, better said young people, also children and
In 2015, I began to experience what some call V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as destructive and violent.
Any part of the body. This technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal, or it can sort of turn off the.
This is Jeremy Radlow. I'm here to tell you that non-consensual human experimentation is happening in the United States today. I've been the subject of this experimentation for more than 5 years. Calling these activities experimentation is truthful but possibly distracting. I think the criteria governing the selection of experimentees will prove to be a much bigger scandal than the experimentation itself. The psychological torture protocol that's part of the so-called experimentation includes, but is not limited to, the use of non-lethal weapons and mind. This is Jeremy Radlow. I'm here to tell you that non-consensual human experimentation is happening in the United States today. I've been the subject of this experimentation for more than 5 years. Calling these activities experimentation is truthful but possibly distracting. I think the criteria governing the selection of experimentees will prove to be a much bigger scandal than the experimentation itself. The psychological torture protocol that's part of the so-called experimentation includes, but is not limited to, the use of non-lethal weapons and mind-invasive technology. Sleep deprivation, pain center stimulation, and worse are used against subjects. While some experimentees have found foreign objects in their bodies suggesting implantation, most have not. Receiverless mind-invasive technology has been demonstrated under laboratory conditions, but the most likely explanation is that experimentees are implanted with foreign objects either too small to appear on commercially available scanning equipment or designed to be indistinguishable from the surrounding tissue. These activities are highly deceptive, use clandestine technology, and have the fingerprints of the CIA all over them. It's unreasonable.
had sexual contact with a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old, he was simply fired. One employee purchased sexually explicit videos of young girls filmed by their mothers. He resigned. One employee estimated that he had viewed up to 1,400 sexually abusive images of children while on agency assignments. Not sure what actions, if any, were taken by him. One contractor arranged for sex with an undercover FBI agent. I think that you mentioned that. Posing as a child, he had his contract revoked. One CIA staffer was charged with child sexual crimes, and the employee was also under investigation for
trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. It's disgusting, take this whole thing into account so much and make it so dramatic. It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. They're trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. It's disgusting, take this whole thing into account so much and make it so dramatic. It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. It's disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through